So, this is for CEOs and engineering managers on how to build a high performing software development team in a lower cost location while avoiding most of the common frustrations associated with hiring overseas. Using this particular strategy, you will save anywhere from 50% to 70% per year per team member by building your development team offshore. But why now? Right? I mean, offshoring has been around ever since the dawn of the internet. Why is this different? And why do you need to listen now? Well, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, at any one time, there's over 500,000 open software development positions vacant in the US. And this is only going to increase because, yeah, look, AI and automation will be making some jobs redundant. So we are seeing departments outside of development that are being optimized by automating a lot of tasks using AI. But this is also creating an immense demand for highly talented software developers as we develop new world technologies and we move into a world powered by 5G and artificial intelligence. So, by not having an extended development team in a lower cost location, you will face issues with your scaling and hiring over the next couple of years as you find it increasingly difficult and increasingly expensive to hire talented developers. But once you learn this process and you learn how to overcome some of the challenges associated with building a global development team, it will open up a greater market. This strategy will protect your confidentiality and legal frameworks while reducing your hiring time down to less than 30 days and giving you the flexibility to expand into newer technologies quickly. It will allow you to rapidly develop POCs or take POCs to monetization with minimal risk. And this is no different than working remotely with your current team. For example, Schneider Electric used this strategy to build a 50-person offshore development team who rapidly developed POCs and applications for their famous Industry 4.0 EcoStruxure range of products. And Silicon Valley, Kelvin AI uses this strategy to augment their team when they need rapid UI UX development and they're lacking the skills they need. So, who is this strategy for? Who does this work for? Well, this strategy is for product engineering leaders who already have a core product, and maybe you're looking to develop new features and integrations and modules cost effectively. Or perhaps you want to expand into newer technologies that you don't currently have the skill sets for. Or perhaps you're looking to conserve cash and protect your budgets. Hence why you're looking at extending your team into a lower cost location. Or maybe you've just had a funding round and you're looking at different strategies to scale your team. Either way, this is for you. But before we get into this strategy, it's really important to understand the origins. So WonderBiz was founded in 2012 by gentlemen named Kastub Maitri and Aniruddha Chowdhury. In 2012, they were approached by industrial giant Schneider Electric to help solve a major problem. Schneider Electric needed an offshore partner to provide high quality developers because even back in 2012, they understood that if they wanted to hire the same quality in India as they get in the USA, then they would need intelligent and culturally aware guys on the ground. And Kastub Maitri and Aniruddha Chowdhury were already well known in the software development field with established connections with local job boards. And this enabled them to rapidly assemble a highly talented team in record time who have delivered complex award-winning products that are on the market generating hundreds of millions in revenue. And since then, word has spread throughout Silicon Valley, the Bay Area, and Fortune 500 are all using this strategy to build offshore development teams. So the first step to consider is your team structure. When building an offshore development team, it's important to always start with a minimum of 3 people. This provides the necessary send balance to establish a rhythm and it creates a sense of teamwork. And team members are more likely to stick around when you start with a team of 3. And usually you would start with 2 front-end developers and 1 back-end developer, with the tech expert being based offshore. And by taking an outside-in approach to your development, your team can start working on the peripheral aspects and gradually move towards the core. And this approach allows for a smoother transition and ensures that your developers feel a sense of progression and accomplishment as they contribute to the project by working from the outside in. And later, as you scale, you will likely hire a QA engineer. And eventually, as you build the full team, it will probably look something like this, with your project managers and your technical experts based onshore, with your development teams and QA engineer based offshore. So the second step is to manage legal, regulatory, and confidentiality requirements, which most companies struggle with, therefore actually preventing them from hiring overseas. So this is important because you need to decide if you're going to hire direct, which means it may be difficult for you to enforce legal agreements. Or you can use an offshore staffing and management partner who will act as the intermediary partner between your company and your developers. So your legal agreements will be between your US entity and your development partner in your local jurisdiction. But your development partner will be responsible for cascading these agreements to the team. So once you've got your team formation decided, you've got your legal and confidentiality agreements in place, and you've got your development partner in place, the next step in this framework is how do you actually find and vet the best developers for your team? And this is where a lot of companies go wrong. Well, firstly, you need to have a stream of applicants. And if you're using a development partner, they should already have access to local candidate pools. But secondly, you need to be testing for skills, willingness, and ability. I'm sure that you already have a hiring process in place, but it's much more vital when hiring offshore to ensure that you have these traits in place. Because if you want to build a team of stallions, then you need to ensure that they are demonstrating high willingness and high ability. So to give you a benchmark of the actual numbers from Kastub Maitri and Aniruddha Chowdhury, the WanderBiz applied to offer rate is 1.44%, and the applied to join rate is 1.1%, which is actually lower than Harvard. So this means that if you want to build a high-performing offshore development team, then your hiring process needs to be more stringent than Harvard University. And once you've built a team that is technically capable, able, and willing, it's important that you implement a solid onboarding process. Some larger companies do prefer classroom-style onboarding sessions, but WanderBiz have learned that it's more effective to implement an onboarding process that gets developers stuck in from day one, because then developers will practice just-in-time learning, where they learn relevant skills as they work on tasks rather than trying to absorb everything up front. So once you've got a team that is technically capable, able, and willing, and you've got legal and confidentiality agreements in place and your onboarding process maps out, then the last thing that you need to think about is how will you collaborate with your developers across time zones. And we strongly recommend that your extended team works to at least a 4-hour overlap with your core team to allow for real-time communication and coordination. So if you're in California, for example, you'll want to schedule a morning daily stand-up between your tech expert and your extended team. And we also recommend leveraging collaborative tools like TFS, GitLab, Greenhopper, or Jira, as these will enhance visibility across time zones. So let's just summarize the steps. Step 1, start with a minimum of 3 developers, usually 2 front-end developers and 1 back-end developer, and work from the outside in. Step 2, use a locally based trusted hiring partner to cascade legal, regulatory, and confidentiality requirements. They will also provide you with access to their local talent pool. Step 3, implement a solid onboarding process. And step 4, ensure that your developers work to at least a 4-hour overlap. So now that you know the framework being used by Silicon Valley and Fortune 500 to build high-performing development teams, really you have 2 options from here. Option 1, you can do it yourself, which means going direct to the job market of your chosen country. However, as we've discussed, you may struggle to implement confidentiality and legal agreements. Or option 2, you can work with WanderBiz, who have been established for over a decade, providing offshore development teams to Fortune 500 and Silicon Valley. And you'd be working directly with Kastub Maitri and Aniruddha Chowdhury. WanderBiz will provide you with the top 1.1% of developers across India who have been vetted for skills, willingness, and ability. And your team will be working from a single office location, which you can visit anytime. Also important to mention that WanderBiz's attrition rate over the last 11 years is less than 5%, which means, most importantly, you can rely on your team for years to come. So if you're interested to get started, simply go to wonderbizglobal.com/quiz to complete the quiz. And we look forward to seeing if you're a fit.